Sorry about that. My link got
Yeah,
cut. So, as I was saying, we look forward to hearing Lewis talk about the Select USA event that will be happening in May. So if Lewis is on, looks like we all got dropped from that. So let us regroup in a minute. Hold on, everybody.
Meg, this is Luis. Just to let you know, I managed to get back on. So whenever you're ready, just let me know.
Yeah, great. I don't know what had happened. Um, Thank you, Zoom. All right, so let everybody rejoin in a second, and I'll restart and then introduce Luis. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to you, Luis, to go ahead and run through your presentation. So thanks everybody for coming. Sorry about this technical issue here at the beginning. And if you're not an AmCham member, we encourage you to contact Eve about becoming an AmCham member because these types of opportunities are first offered to our AmCham members. And we want to see that membership grow so that we can have a stronger voice for businesses that are working here in Uganda as well as working in the United States. So look forward to hearing Louis' presentation. So I'll hand it over to him.
All right. Well, thank you, Meg. Hopefully my audio is coming through and you can see my screen. So I know Meg provided a bit of an introduction, but I'll introduce myself again. My name is Luis Salas. I am the Economic Unit Chief here at the US Embassy in Kampala. I've been in the country almost 2 years now, a little over a year and a half. And I'm here today to talk about opportunities for investing in the United States, expanding your business into the United States. So if you're here to learn about the SelectUSA Investment Summit that is coming up in May, you're with a company who either is interested in establishing a presence in the United States, already has a presence and wants to expand it, and then you're in the right place. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So there are 4 things that I'm hoping to cover. Okay, here we go. Short agenda for the presentation. These are the 4 items I want to discuss. What is SelectUSA? Why should you and your company consider the United States? What's the process for expanding into the United States? And then finally, what is the Investment Summit? So what is SelectUSA? So SelectUSA is part of the US Department of Commerce, and its mission is to help companies like yours from foreign countries make investments in the US market. And so we work with a range of clients all over the world. Again, whether you are just considering the United States, whether you're already planning to make an investment in the US, or maybe you already have an office and you're looking to expand your footprint in the United States. And just to talk a little bit about the impact of the SelectUSA program, we hit a recent milestone in the last 2 years that we helped facilitate over $200 billion of verified projects. We've worked with over 1,200 organizations from 70 different countries. So we've got a lot of experience helping foreign businesses come to the United States, and we hope that with the interest here today that maybe we can expand and improve our numbers here in Uganda. So I did mention that SelectUSA is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. Of course, Department of Commerce is present all throughout the United States. You can see those. I know the map is small, but you can see those represented in the red dots. And the U.S. Department of Commerce is also represented in many countries overseas, and those are the blue dots on the map. I mentioned the map is small, but you probably will notice that there is no blue dot for Uganda on this map, and that's only because the Department of Commerce does not have a person permanently established here in Kampala, but don't fear. In Uganda, as with many of the smaller markets around the world, the Department of State steps in to fill and cover the roles that normally U.S. Department of Commerce would. So I myself am the local representative for Department of Commerce services here in Kampala. So you do have a person that's here full time that you can communicate with. And that works both ways for US companies that are looking to invest in Uganda or export their products to Uganda, and also Ugandan companies that are looking to open or set up a footprint or expand their operations in the United States. All right, so what is it that we do? Well, we provide three main services, and they're listed here on the slide. So the first thing is that we provide some actionable information about the US market and how to open a business there. And we do that through providing off-the-shelf research, which is included in our investment guide. That's an over 100-page document on the key topics related to the US market and opening up and running a business in the United States. We also can provide customized research reports on potential locations based on your specific company needs. We can also provide counseling, business counseling through the SelectUSA program and also through the U.S. Commercial Service. In addition to that, we can make connections. So we can introduce you to government officials in the United States that can help with your company's expansion. Federal contacts, so contacts within the federal government can answer questions about federal rules, regulations, and incentives. But don't forget the states. It's really important if you are going to open a business in the United States that you are in touch with state government officials as well. State contacts can answer location-specific questions. So you already identified a place to open your office, then it's really important to get in touch with the state representatives for that location, because much of the transactions and the regulations and everything in the United States, and I'll go into this a little bit further, is really done at the state level, not at the national level. There are some incentives and national rules, but really the ones, the bulk of it, most of it will be at the state level. So through SelectUSA, one of our goals is to get interested companies and foreign investors in touch with the appropriate state contacts. So all of these services, except for the Investment Summit, which I'll cover in a bit, all of those are completely free of charge. So please don't hesitate to reach out. But let me talk about what, again, a little bit more on what we can help with, and also I should highlight some things that we're limited from doing. So on this slide, you can see that SelectUSA was put together really to support greenfield investments. So what that means is a new facility or an expansion of a current facility. So if that applies to you, then SelectUSA is the program for your company. We can provide geographically neutral assistance. We cannot recommend a specific location. As you can imagine, with 50 different states in the United States, we can't favor one over the other, is what I mean by this bullet. So we give you geographically neutral assistance, and we try to provide all the options and data possible so that you can make the decision that's best for your company, an informed decision. And we also strive to work and create environments where you can make the connections that you need with those stakeholders and with local companies and partners as well. What we can't do is we can't help with mergers and acquisitions. Remember, this is new or expanded investments, not mergers. And we cannot do direct business-to-business introductions. We can't advocate for one state or another or location over another. All right. And for the next two slides, I really wanted to emphasize that SelectUSA is just one piece of the puzzle as far as what the United States offers to foreign companies to help them come to the United States and operate in our country. And so some examples here in Uganda, are listed on the screen. So mostly done through USAID, but a couple of our other agencies provide services as well and activities. You may have heard of some of these. Some of you may actually already be involved in these, but we have programs such as this strategic investment activity that helps with small, medium-sized enterprises in Uganda to provide a range, a variety of different business services. There's the Africa Trade and Investment activity here in Uganda as well, again, with small, medium-sized enterprises to help boost exports regionally, but also to the United States. And then through this Department of State, we have the African Women's Entrepreneurship Program, which is focused on women-run enterprises, of course, and that provides some capacity building and potentially funding possibilities. So let's continue on the list. There are other resources that are more regionalized or potentially global. And so they're here on this list as well. So the Africa Small Business Catalyst Program is in several African countries, including Uganda. We have DFC, of course, which is our finance corporation for international investments. And that's a very good resource if you are if you're in need of financing for a project that has a development impact in your country, in Uganda or elsewhere, then the DFC is there to potentially support you. So I won't go into too much detail, but I really wanted to show that, SelectUSA that we're talking about today is just one piece of the puzzle, and we have a lot going on. All right, so well, you might be asking yourself, well, why should I go to the United States? It's really far from Uganda. Why invest in America? And really the bottom line, and Meg touched on this a little bit, is that, businesses that invest in the United States, regardless of what industry you're in, you gain a competitive advantage from one of the most open markets in the country. We also have the largest consumer market. Open markets on the planet. And we have one of the largest consumer markets on earth. With a GDP of over $20 trillion and a consumer base of more than 330 million people. And we've seen that companies of all sizes, that establish in the United States really help make innovation in the United States a global enterprise. And those companies benefit and also contribute to the flourishing ecosystem for invention and inspiration in America. So we welcome you with open arms if you're interested in coming. But here are some specific advantages. I talked a little bit about, economic opportunity. And so the number one benefit for expanding your business into the United States is growth. Again, we have a large consumer market of over 330 million people. We have the highest GDP and purchasing power among all of the OECD countries. We also have an ecosystem that is very conducive to business. And so the United States is a wonderful laboratory of innovation, collaboration, and productive competition. So most 27 out of the top 50 innovative companies are headquartered in the United States. 12 of the top 20 universities worldwide are based in the United States. And 8 of the top 20 global startup ecosystems that have been identified by World University Rankings are in the United States. So those are some statistics that hopefully will convince you to look at the United States seriously. And finally, financing. And so this is an issue I know is, acutely challenging here in Uganda, but Uganda is not unique in that aspect. And the United States has a really strong capital market and banking system. And we have 54 foreign banks operating in the United States. And so there's a good chance that, that there are several banking options that are common to both markets. So you can find Citibank, for example, or Standard Chartered. They both operate in the United States as well as in Uganda, and that can help ease some of your transactions and and facilitate financing for your companies. And we also the United States ranks #1 in venture capital and private equity attractiveness. So, just lots of opportunities for financing. Our business environment is transparent, reliable, and business friendly. The United States has been promoting industrial policy recently with the Congress passing several laws that are offering large incentives to set up manufacturing and in different sectors in the United States, including renewable energy, critical minerals, sustainable fuels, semiconductors, and many more. So there's really a lot of opportunity for your company. It's very beneficial for the growth of your company if you do come to the United States and open up a presence there. So how do we do it? What is the process like? And so this next section is going to cover that. So this graph gives a bit of an overview of what the process is like to set up an office in the United States. Now, there are a couple key features of the environment in the US that you should keep in mind as you pursue opportunities. We do have very robust tax and legal framework in the United States, and that's very beneficial for your company. On, but it does bring up, a key requirement that for companies to truly be successful, you'll need to have the assistance and help of expertise, and you really do need to have a team. So it can be a bit complex to try and navigate 50. We have 50 different states with each with their regulations and their laws, and depending on where you set up and how many of those jurisdictions you set up, it could become a little bit more complicated than you would expect to navigate the legal and tax issues. So, so one of the things to keep in mind is that you may need some expert legal advice and tax advice, and through the SelectUSA program, we can provide the information for how to seek that out for your business. Again, I've said it before already in this presentation, but I'll hammer it home again. Don't forget that in the United States, we're a collection of 50 different states. So it's really important to be speaking to your state regulators and to really get information that's specific to the state in which you are opening your business. So businesses don't actually exist at the national level in the United States. They're all registered with one out of the 50 states. And so they each have their regulations and their tax laws and their rules, labor laws, etc., can be different from one state to another. And so each state can set their own corporate law. And you'll notice that there's certain states that attract a lot more businesses than others. And part of the reason, one aspect of that, one variable is the legal framework and the taxation scheme. So just don't forget, everything in the United States is layered. You do have incentives and certain rules that are at the national level. Then you have a huge chunk of it that's at the state level. And then you may even have some local, regional, or, city by city, especially in the larger cities. They may have additional things that you need to take into account. And that goes with the incentives as well. So each jurisdiction will decide what incentives they want to offer, so that we have national incentives, state incentives, and maybe even below that. Taxation in the United States, since I did bring it up, currently the corporate tax rate at the national level is 21% for companies. And at the states do tax at varying rates. Some have a 0% tax rate on corporations, and all the way up to 11.5%. That would be in addition to the national tax rate. Although there could be ways to sort of compensate one for the other. And again, this is why I highly recommend that you get the expertise as you go through the process. Income tax in the United States is also varied. It also depends on the state, and certain states don't have a state personal income tax for your staff members, where others do, in addition to the national tax. So we do have a national income tax as well. All right. Well, with all that said, I don't want to get, hopefully I didn't confuse you too much. But it is important to consider state by state opportunities for your business. And taxes and regulations are one piece of it. There's other pieces. Incentives are another piece. And of course, just the market opportunities is a huge driver to where companies go. So this graph here, this image sort of summarizes in the last 10 years or so where new companies have established in the United States. And the darker the color, that means the more companies have established in that location. So stereotypically, I don't think it's any secret, Places like New York and California are sort of known for having, maybe more regulation than other states, potentially higher taxes than other states. For example, Florida and Texas are sort of on the other side, stereotypically or generally speaking, are considered to have low regulation and low taxes. Yet New York and California are still attracting most of the businesses. So, the taxation and the regulation is really just one piece. The strength of the market, access to finance, access to expertise, is really important. Your company may decide they need to be close to Wall Street for whatever reason. Maybe you're in the fintech or finance sector, and that makes sense. Or maybe you need to set up close to Silicon Valley because you're a tech startup and you need access to that highly educated engineering labor force. On this slide, just breaks down the different industries, which industries are expanding the most in the United States. Oil and gas is number one, followed closely by chemicals, and then down the list. So this is the sort of information that SelectUSA really strives to provide to potential investors, so that you can make informed decisions on the process. All right. So with that said, that gives you a sense of what the U.S. market has to offer. Why should you invest? Some of the factors about, how do you go, what the process is like, and what you need to know so that you can open up your business in the United States. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Investment Summit specifically. So this is an event that we hold every year, and it's meant to be a one-stop shop for a foreign investor or a foreign company in establishing a presence and expanding their business in the United States. Okay, as I said, it's held once a year. It's been, at least for the last few years, held at the Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center in Maryland, which is in the Washington, D.C. metro area. But what actually happens there? Well, I think it's helpful to paint a picture of what you can expect. So this slide here shows, first of all, a photograph of the venue. That's the resort where the convention is held every year. So it has large meeting spaces. You can imagine how many people attend this, and everyone's under the same roof for at least the main portions of the schedule. On the left is an example of one of the days of the convention, sort of what would happen throughout the day. So at the venue, we have like I said, there's a large ballroom with a large stage set up. And so this is where we hold the main speaking events, hopefully it can accommodate all the attendees together. So the U.S. Secretary of Commerce and other cabinet members in the United States typically will provide remarks that'll be held at this venue. We have panel discussions with major CEOs and governors of several states of the United States. So they'll get up and be able to just talk to the attendees and highlight the incentives and the benefits, et cetera, of coming to America. So, and then we have a huge exhibition hall, and this will be occupied throughout the event. As you could see the dates here, May 11th through the 14th. So this is a 3 or 4 day event. In the exhibition hall, all the 50 states will set up a booth. All the other territories, non-state territories of the United States, will also be invited to set a booth. And it's sort of like a miniature version of the entire country. So you can walk through there and go from booth to booth and learn about the incentives, find out who the contact people are in that market, with the regulators to set up your business and expand your business. And some states also provide similar services as the Department of Commerce to help establish a connection with local agents and lawyers and tax professionals, et cetera. And those professionals will also be on site. So there will be some private sector displays in the exhibition hall from law firms, from companies that help you select a site, and then members of the startup ecosystem in the United States. And again, really the whole goal of this summit is to provide a one-stop shop for everything that you would need to set up your presence in America. We also hold information sessions in smaller venues and smaller rooms where we can focus on specific topics that may not apply to all the attendees. So you can pick from presentations on maybe visa law. What does it take to get your employees to America? What are the visa ramifications and options for doing that? Fundraising is another one. Site selection might be another one. And then we'll have deep dives into specific industries. So fintech may have a session on their own, pharmaceutical industry, for example. And then in addition to all that, there's a dedicated networking area at the venue where you can set up meetings with other attendees, service providers, and other companies. And so not just talking to the U.S. representatives with the government, we want you to be able to talk to private sector as well. And so we have the formal booths in the exhibition hall, and then we also have the networking area where you're free to just kind of roam around, and maybe you can schedule a meeting or two while you're there. And in the evenings, we tend to have receptions that are sometimes held at the same venue and sometimes held somewhere else in the DC metro area, with many of them providing transportation to and from. So that's the overview of the summit. Again, just to reemphasize, it's a one-stop shop. And who are we targeting? Who do we hope will attend? Well, we hope that companies like yours, established and started in foreign countries outside the United States, would come if you're interested, if you're considering, if you're committed, or if you're already present in the United States. So if you're interested, we hope that coming to the investment summit will help you develop and refine your strategy through the info sessions and the industry representatives that are there. If you're already committed, that you want to come to the United States, well, this is a great place to come and accelerate those plans. If you have a short list of states, for example, that you're considering, and cities, just remember that all these people will be there. All the representatives will be there at SelectUSA, and so you can hit up New York, California, Texas, whatever your list is, all in one afternoon, as opposed to, over weeks setting up meetings and traveling from here and there all across the country. It is a big country. And if you're a larger company or you already have an office in America, we hope you're still involved in the summit, because this, again, is a great opportunity to meet more contacts and key decision makers to help with your current business potentially, but specifically to help you expand beyond your current presence. And here are some statistics I just wanted to share from last year. And, through the investment summit, there was recorded over $110 billion of transactions and 85,000 jobs. So again, this summit is the premier event for foreign direct investment into the United States. And so we pride ourselves in the impact that it has. Here's the schedule for this year. Again, it runs from May 11 through May 14. And you can participate in all of these events. In some of these events, it's completely up to you. All right. So I mentioned that there were smaller activities that delve into different topics, and those are held at the venue. We also have meet and greets and luncheons and receptions, which I also mentioned. But we also have things, what we call spin-off events. So they're not organized by SelectUSA, but they're sort of promoted. They're under the same umbrella, under the SelectUSA theme. And those could be held around the country. They're usually put on by state or regional organizations that are trying to get you to come to their location. So just a couple examples that we've had in the past. Miami, the city of Miami in Florida, has held a tech hub spinoff event that covered climate technology and fintech and health tech, trade and logistics. And so in Madison, Wisconsin, held a healthcare, which is biotechnology and related industry events, and et cetera. So there are different options if you have the chance to travel. They usually would be held right before or right after SelectUSA Summit, and in different parts of the country. So if that's something of interest, and keep that in mind. And here's the list for this year. This could change. Typically, it would expand, not contract, but it gives you an idea. Again, some more statistics from last year. Here are the top foreign markets where companies came from to select USA and invest in the US. So for this last portion of the presentation, I want to focus on opportunities for small and for startup companies and small businesses, which is particularly is what I find to be kind of the most of the companies in Uganda. So SelectUSA has a has additional services and opportunities for small tech companies, and it's under the branding of SelectUSA Tech. And this is special programming that's available at the summit if you meet the eligibility criteria on the left here. So you have to be a foreign company. You have to be in the some sort of tech business, whether it's a product or a service. And you have to be more or less decided that you want to enter the United States within the next 3 years. Excuse me. Now, to be considered a startup company, you have to have either been founded in the last 10 years or have less than 40 employees or less than 10 million US dollars in revenue. Okay. So as long as you qualify for these things, when you apply for SelectUSA, you can indicate in your application that you qualify and you would like to apply under the SelectUSA Tech programming, and you do get some benefits. And you get a reduced rate is the first benefit, and you also get to participate in extra activities. And we have a pitch competition that's for startup companies, and there's a separate display exhibition area for the companies that are participating in this, additional networking opportunities. And if you're a woman-owned enterprise, there's even more to benefit from. And so that's what I'd like to talk to on this slide. And now remember, actually, before I get further down in there, if you're interested in the Select Tech or the Select Global Women in Tech, there are some earlier deadlines for participating in the pitch competition and the mentorship program. So please don't wait to sign up for the summit until the last minute. If you qualify for this programming and you would like to participate, you should start early. So I mentioned
Louis, just one real quick thing. I'm sorry, but Zoom is really giving us a problem. So it may cancel us again in a couple of minutes. I'm encouraging everyone, we didn't end it, just log back in. I do apologize. We don't know why Zoom is doing this to us.
All right, thanks, Meg. Yeah, I'll make sure we're getting close to the end of the presentation, and I do want to take some questions. So I don't know if let me finish the slides, and maybe that'll give us a great opportunity to refresh. Yeah, so I mentioned that we have programming under SelectUSA Tech. So if you are a SelectUSA Tech company that is also a women-owned business, then you could also add on to the SelectUSA Tech programming all the Select Global Women in Tech programming as well. All right, so this is primarily a mentorship program, which starts at the Investment Summit and then goes on for 12 months afterwards. It's a voluntary program on both sides. We have mentors based in the United States to provide the mentorship to your companies. And this slide here really just shows what the requirements are on your end as the mentee, and also what we look for in the mentors that express interest to sign up. So not everyone is accepted into the program as a mentor. We really want to make sure that there's an impact. So we select U.S. companies based on their industry knowledge, their experience, entrepreneurship skills, and just the level of interest and already the experience they've had in empowering women in the tech industry. And again, I peppered these slides a little bit with some stats from last year. Whoops. And this is, this is just some more of that. Okay. So really the final step here is to just talk a little bit about how you can sign up. How can you participate in your company? So this is the final slide, and it covers exactly that. There is a fee to join the summit. The fee currently is $1,150 US. This is the early bird rate, which is valid until the end of February, and then it'll begin to increase. and it will increase twice until the day of the event, essentially. But we do close registration on May 1st, pending availability. If there is additional capacity, we'll accept applications afterwards. But remember, if you meet the requirements for the small tech business under SelectUSA Tech, you do get a special rate that's below this. Another way that you can help reduce the costs of your company registering is we do have a reward program. If you directly recruit or are the source of other companies recruiting, the more companies you recruit, the more benefit you get on your registration rate, for your own company. And I believe it takes about 5 recruitments to get, well, I don't want to say the number, but everything's on the SelectUSA website, which I can certainly provide the link to through Meg to distribute to everyone that attended. And the last thing here, these little boxes that you see, when you go to register, you'll be asked under which category you want to participate for your company. And so those are here. SelectUSA Tech is one of them. Remember, if you qualify and you register under that option, you get the benefits that come along with it. And it's also the first step towards the Women in Tech programming as well. So with that, that's pretty much it, Meg. Everyone, I hope that that this information has inspired you to give it a serious thought about first and foremost investing or opening up a branch of your business in the United States, but also to participate in this investment summit. So Meg, I'll turn it over for you. I'm open to taking questions. I'm not sure what you need to do to manage the Zoom call, but yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Luis. So Luis, you should take a look at some of these questions that have popped up in the chat.
Okay.
Which I know happens a lot, because even me, I tried to help somebody get a DUNS number and it was very difficult. But did you emphasize that even if you do register, it's not an automatic acceptance?
Yes, so there is a process to register. The first step is to apply. It's considered an application. And that what will happen is that will be reviewed by Department of Commerce, the SelectUSA team. And it's not because we want to be exclusive. We do want to allow as many businesses to participate as possible. We just need to verify that it's a legitimate request. And then there'll be some light due diligence on the background of the company to make sure there are no, legal concerns with your participation. So there's a short process that goes into accepting the application to attend the summit.
Okay, great. Yeah, so the first question from Lillian was about not being able to get an EIN, but then Agnes said she got both an EIN for both of her businesses as a Ugandan. So there just seems to be a lot of issues around getting EINs, getting a new what do they call it? A UEI, a DUNS number. DUNS number is not used anymore, Agnes, from what I understand, but maybe Luis can confirm. But it's called a UEI, unique entity identifier. So that's slightly different. But yeah, we need some help with all of that, Louis, because it definitely gets people caught up. So does this program help them do that?
So, I'm sure that there'll be some sessions to talk about, what is required and how do you get the ITIN and all that information. I don't have that information with me right now, but I think this really reemphasizes one of the messages I had in the presentation is that as you go into the US, just keep in mind that there could be some complications and it's really important to get the right information that you need. Certainly, you can reach out to us through the email address that I had on the first slide.